Hey guys, gonna be a little bit different than I expected, I guess. I was trying to get this going on the computer, but I can't get that happening. So, coming right from the phone. So, I can't actually show some of the stuff I was hoping to. Uh, so, I'm just gonna bring it up over here so I can see chat and everything a little bit better. Give me 1 second. All right. Nice. Well, thank you for coming by, Spence. Brian. That was one I was thinking, but I didn't think it quite fit. I liked the Simpsons one better. But that is definitely one that could be done. Can I? Yes, I can. That zoomed in way more than I wanted it to, but we can go a little bit more than that too. And just adjust our position so we can kind of see a bit better what's going on. Sorry, dogs are going. We've got rain tonight, so they're not too happy about that. But I figured I'd start with an easier one, a lighter one, just for the get-go here, and try and extend this swooping protector bolt off the edge a little bit while we wait to see if some people get here. So, just getting some paint opened up. Got some new brushes, so we'll see how they do. Another reason why I want to test this on the other one. Just give me a second, guys. Let me go see what's going on with them. The window was open, so yeah, they were going a little bit crazy. Yeah, basically the same thing, just this one's going off the side, like I with the torch courier goblin. Was one I also did. I don't know if that's the one I sent or if I have that one in deck. But just start and drag it through. A little bit thick, so I'll wipe off some of the excess and just go back to thin it out a little. And I'm using acrylic paints. You can use whatever kind of paint you'd like, but acrylics are pretty good for drying quick. So you can layer them and keep them pretty thin so they're not too noticeable in the end product that you're making. Okay, yes. I think that when I did the same sort of technique as I did with the Torch Courier Goblin, but I have that one in my Goblin deck. So when you're looking at pretty simple base altars like this, you can get something going pretty quickly. So as you can see, it's already getting some pretty good coverage from this paint. I'll probably do another 1, maybe 2 coats on this one, and that'll be it for that. Not too much to do on something where you're just going off a couple. You want to try and blend in as well as you can, because in the right sort of reflection, you'll always see that, oh, it's paint. It's not, the original card. Cultist of the Absolute. I'll have to see what that card looks like. I don't know if Cultist of the Absolute is right. Just because that's an enchantment, saying it fits with the theme. No, that's why you want to keep the layers thin, do multiple layers so it's not bulky in a sleeve. Because that's what dictates whether a judge will find it tournament legal or not most of the time, is if you can feel it through the sleeve. Again, I apologize about the barking dogs. They're not happy with the weather outside, but I can't really do much about that for them. I mean, if you're putting it in and out and in and out and in and out of a sleeve, then yeah, it's going to wear off some of the paint because you're rubbing it up against each other. But putting it in one time or moving it on occasion isn't likely to do it, especially on something as small as this. You can be careful with that area to make sure you don't rub that spot. Sorry about the shakiness. You guys saw how it's zoomed in, so. So. Looks like I might have got a little bit of a clump in there, so I'm gonna just grab a Q-tip and dab it down, and that just helps ensure it's flat. It was a little bit wet in the middle there, so I'll have to give that one more coat. But you can't see that little bit as you could before, or as I could. I don't know if you guys could see it. So let's get just a touch more paint and fill in this middle here. And like another thing with it being like an energy effect kind of coming through, it's not a huge issue if there's a little bit of transparency to it, if you can see through it a little bit, because energy isn't, solid. It has some transparency. So, just a quick one to get started. Put that off to the side. I guess you can't really see it while we keep working. And then we've got a strangle here. So I looked it up and I have an image that I'm going to use for it. And I'm sure majority of you will have seen this image before, as it's The Simpsons. Hey, Coach, thanks for coming in. We're going to put in Homer strangling Bart. So I was working with a relatively small fine point brush to start with. Now going into this, because I wanted to set down a base layer, I'm going to start with a slightly thicker brush, wider flat brush, just to do a base coat of some white. And then in the end, I will end up using a toothpick to scrape off any of the excess white that is past where I need it. So, going with nice flat brush. Yeah, the only thing is anything looking good is a happy little accident, coach. So just a nice thin coat. That's going to be a base layer to help make the colors pop, to help make the other paint stick, and to cover up the art that's already there. So this, I'm not too worried about being precise because, as I said, I'm going to remove whatever I don't need in the end. So, get a little bit more going to push it out. And I'm just letting the strokes spread that paint pretty thin. And like, honestly, I'm not using a lot for this. You can spend more on some better quality paints and brushes, but I'm showing you can do it with like $5 worth of paint and brushes from the dollar store. So I went to one of the dollar stores nearby, picked up this set of brushes, which are rather nice brushes and sizes for what we're doing here. There's a 3-0 and a 6-0, very fine point brush, as well as like a 1/2 inch flat brush and a couple in between. So kind of whatever you're doing, you can have the brush size you need. And then I picked up some acrylic pots. Now I was kind of picky because I've used acrylic pots in the past, and these ones actually were labeled as brights. And so far they're seeming to do pretty good for coverage, right? We've got nice out of that white. What'll be the real test to see how nice of a paint they are is when we get to the yellow. Yellow is one of the hardest colors to have pop and be vibrant without getting it kind of thick. Go for it, coach. So I'm going to give another layer to this white just to get a little bit bolder. But you can already see how much of a difference that's made in how the pigment goes down. Just have to be careful when you run over your paint too many times and you've re-wet it with more pigment, you can end up pulling it back and losing some of the color in the middle like I have there. But this is just a personal card. Might go as a giveaway at some point if somebody likes it, is interested, but I'm not too worried about it for thickness. I'm not planning on it being a tournament used card. Yeah, you can do that. Like with the art I'm doing, using a permanent marker to highlight those blacks would probably be better and cleaner than trying to do them in paint for me. So I think at this point, I'm going to tape the card down to my mat here, just to help keep it from moving as I start going in, and I can kind of mask off the name where I don't want to paint anyways. Yeah, paint pens. I've seen people do full pieces of art with paint pens on them. Alcohol ink markers work great if you are comfortable and confident with them. You still have to kind of lay down a base though for those, just because the alcohol inks tend to be a little bit more translucent. But I've also not had much experience with alcohol inks for painting with, so you can see I'm getting some stray strings out of the brush. So again, that's where higher quality, more expensive tools will result in less work for a clean end product. Doesn't mean you need them to do it, it just makes the job easier. What tends to kind of be a problem with paint pens is the thickness sometimes. Like for this, you're probably looking at very fine point markers, not the Sharpie style permanent markers to get the line work that you want. One of the cats is being very talkative. Don't know what they're saying, but they are being very talkative. So we're just waiting for the white to dry a little bit. Oh, I've just realized what's going on and I need to go stop it. We have a blind cat and he was trying to have his way with one of the other cats. Did not choose the right one that I think he thought he had, because he had one of the other males. So I'm just giving it a fan to dry it off a little bit quicker. Can you guys hear that in the background? Yeah, okay. Fair enough, coach. That's why I tried getting something else on in the background for some sound, so when I do stop talking for a second, it's not as like, okay, are we live? Are we not? It's just paint. Just a little bit. That's not quite dry. Give it a quick fan. And we'll give it one more, trying to get a little bit better coverage on this layer. Now there is one way that this could be done much easier, and I should have done, but I forgot to check and get a pencil ready. So if I had a pencil, what I could do is print off that picture of Homer choking Bart that I'm going to use into a scale that would fit for the card. And then on the back side of the paper, you just color the pencil on. You color heavy on the graphite. Then you flip it over onto the card, line it up where you want it, and then you trace the outline on the front of the card with a pen or the pencil, just something that's following the line nice and tight, and you'll get that same outline relayed onto the card that you're working on. So, something we can do while we wait on that white to dry is I also have Broker's Veteran here. Okay. This light works much better. I had an overhead light on trying to help make it brighter and really did not need it now that I can see. Yeah, so I think all of us here remember carbon copy paper. That's basically a DIY way to do it. So, because so far I've just been into white. I haven't really seen how any of these other colors do. And I haven't gotten to a point of mixing any colors either. So, let's get this opened for some blue. And these red and yellows opened. Along with the white to get some of the options we'll need. No, it's white paint from a dollar store pot. Just when the type that they had there, they have like a neon, a pastel, and a bright, which to me was okay. These are going to be better pigmented for coverage, and I took the risk with them, wanting to do it in a way that's, accessible to everybody. And turns out, yeah, these ones are very good. But if you're getting paints in a pot randomly like this, you could be looking at something that doesn't cover very well, that doesn't have very good pigmentation to it. And when that ends up happening, you basically have to build up the layers so much and so thick that you can't make it a tournament legal card like that. If you use a very high end golden acrylics or a miniature paint that are meant to do heavy coverage in a very thin layer, you're going to get better results easier out of your altars. So, we'll move into the smallest tip brush here. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to turn it back to the point where you guys can't really tell what's going on with the card, because it's not bright enough for me to see without the overhead portion of the light on. But I'll pop it off so you guys can see as I progress with this. So I'm just being careful about getting onto that card. And I'm looking at this and kind of analyzing what's coming off where and what's happening. To see where I want to extend some of those wisps out past the edge of the card. And I think I'm just going to end up going with all of them. I'm just rotating around the canvas here to get myself some better access. And now I've moved down to the smallest brush that I have to work on this, because this is some fine blue lines going on here. Yeah, I think that matches pretty well to the blue that's in there without any adjustment. I'll have to get a little bit more for the edge. Sorry that I've gotten a bit quiet. I am putting a bit more of the concentration into where the paint's going down on the card. And then I want to get kind of all these blue wisps that I'm going to get done first. So we're having that piece kind of arc around rather than just go completely off. Just on the black, it's going to take some layers to really get that color going. So yeah, once that dries up, we'll get some white and blue mixed together to go into the center of it and give it that glow highlight. So I don't actually think I want pure red. I think the red is going to get to be a little bit too much on its own. So I'm going to mix in and make myself a little bit of an orange for this. So I don't want to use too much paint, right? Don't need to waste it. Not a lot to go on there. And I don't need much orange for Bart either, so clean off the brush and grab a little bit of yellow to mix in there and just mix it on my palette here, or on my mat here. That's still too red, so clean our brush back off because we don't want to contaminate our pots. This is a thing where, like, having paint that you can put out of your tube makes mixing a little bit easier. Well, that's really what I want to do with the channel too, is kind of inspire people to do some more art and creative stuff with their cards as well, outside of just the game. So I think that's good to start, and then going over it with some more yellow for more layers on top will help bring it to where I want it to be. Well, I think there are a lot of islands and plains that have been done out there. Not as many fields of ruins, if you're asking for something you want to start on. I would say let's see what you want to do with that one. So, grab up some of our orange. So, having it coming off in those areas through the name, but we're going to leave it kind of translucent to see the name through it. Although the other technique you could do is scratching off the paint where the name is. I think neon is very fitting for what Magic is putting through, although so would be gold if you think of new Capenna. But I think we're going to see more neon-like over more gold-like. Yeah, again, like I said, for energy, having the transparency adds to the effect more. We'll see, like, when I'm going to get something solid, that's why we put the background down to really make that color pop. So I'm gonna get up that little bit of orange before I run a card into it that I don't mean to. Just using a little bit of water to clean it up before it dries. So, how's that looking? It's looking like it's pretty dry at this point. Yep, dry to the touch. So, do I want to lay out an outline? That would be the better idea, but like I said, I didn't bring a pencil with me. Wasn't thinking of that. I guess I could be ridiculous, though. And do it with one of my pens. So, just trying to frame and make sure everything I want is going to fit. So, let's start with Homer's backside. Unfortunately, this is a time when you don't want this nice of a pen, because this one is leaving quite a dark ink line without very much pressure at all. So this is why I like using this little cutting mat I have, because I can rotate the whole thing.
Maybe what I've been missing all these years is I should just put boogers all over my hands.
Probably opposite that.
Fair. That's fair. That's fair. I quit. Reasonable. Go Ian. So you got not to lend Graham any magic cards. Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to get this all placed properly is not the easiest thing. This is why I recommended doing the print at the size, and then you can copy it.
Sound effects. Ah, damn, dude. Sticky be good for this. I think so.
Nope. And if you saw there, a little bit of the paint came up, so it wasn't quite dry enough. And I don't quite have enough there either. So what I'm going to do at this point is add a little bit more white. Make that base up there a little bit more where I want it to be, so that I can get the whole thing on there. So nice, coach. Gotta post some pictures on YouTube or on the Discord. If not up on the Facebook group. See what you got. What you did. Alright. So let's try and start on part. Or we'll move down the arms, I guess, because we need to figure that out before we figure out part. Okay, that's kind of annoying in the background. I don't know what they're making that all about. So let's turn that down. I'm getting on too much of an angle with the pen, and that's why I'm scraping out. Nope, I went too far there. That's okay, I can fix that with the paint. The more I do, the more unhappy I'm getting with how it looks. I feel like I'm trying to get a little bit of what I'm seeing too close, and it's not actually coming out accurate. So, I don't know if you guys could see his face while I was doing that, but I'm not very happy with that. So, we're going to work on some of our Broker's Veteran highlights. So, starting with the blue, we'll get a little bit of white on the palette. And then a touch of blue mixed in with it. We're wanting to get a very, very light blue. That's not quite light enough. That looks good. So let's get that onto our small brush. And we'll twist our brush into the paint a little bit to try and get that tip as fine as we can, because we want to follow our previous lines, but staying very, very much in the center of them, the thinner line. So I'm literally trying to get it with just like one strand of the brush. Not being the most successful, but that's okay. I like how that's looking. Let's do the other one.
Remember the baby from Teletubbies? This is them now.
Cool. That looks awesome. Just that fine little highlight on there. So just do the same and quickly clean up that excess. Clean up our brush. And let's do a little bit of yellow to fill out that other effect. So I'm trying to kind of replicate the twisting effect that seems to be going on by giving it some dashed paint marks and then dragging over them, as you could see while I was painting it. Now we're up in here, not getting as much of the twisting, some are just cross, a little bit of a twist in there. And then lastly onto this one. Wanting a little bit more yellow. That one was a little bit closer and got very red very quickly. It also is widening out pretty quickly, but it is what it is. We can clean up our line in here a little bit afterwards. I'm still not happy with it. Yeah, I think we're going to end up cleaning that up a little bit. Thank you, Coach. So, yeah, I'm going to do this the not as good of a way, but the way that'll make it happen a little bit quicker and easier. See where we start, and probably have to come back to it another day just because the colors and drying, it's going to take a bit. But I'm going to try and block out some of the yellow that I'll have to come back over with white just to get a feel of where bodies are going to lie. So I feel like I'm a little bit too far that way. So I want Homer's head up in here. and I'm okay if it comes off a little bit and gets cut off. You know, Simpsons is an iconic enough thing that even with the top of his head just cut off, you'll know who it is. We're going a little bit heavier on the paint, going for a bit more of a coverage. Oh, so that might have been a bit of a mistake, because see what's happening to our paint. This will just take many layers, and I will have to mill this out and blend this out because it is not good. It's gonna be in there, and I'm just gonna have to go back through and clean up everything, or this might turn out not to actually work out because of the ink bleeding through trying to paint over it. Wasn't even something I thought of when I added it. This definitely will not turn out to be a tournament legal card. I can already see clumping, and this is where actually being an artist and doing this on a regular comes in handy over, you know, picking up some paints from the dollar store and giving it a shot. But starting with some of these smaller things like we did with the Broker's Veteran or the Swooping Protector, you can get some nice pop to those basic cards that aren't really worth too much, but you want to use or you like the art of or whatever it may be. We're gonna try and block out some blue for the pants. We got too far. We moved everything over a bit. So we'll block that out in blue. And you can see even in the blue, the black is pulling through. So trial and error, learning from mistakes, right? Don't use the nice pen to do alters with, because it doesn't stay. And this is where I don't know what to do, because the white is just going to get gray and take layers upon layers to cover. Again, somewhere we're having a better quality white paint would give you so much more coverage and better coverage. We'll see what we can get. So I'm trying to kind of stipple over top of where the ink is and maybe let that dry. And then I might be able to cover it with an actual paint layer and have no heavy bleed of the ink itself. But you can see how badly that's muddied our colors. So I think we're going to end up setting the Strangle aside for today. I do have one other one I was going to do just the simple extension of some of the parts over the border of. So I'll pull that out and we'll do that one more to finish off the stream for today. So that one is a disdainful stroke. And the idea is to extend off over here. Get that fireball coming in over the mana cost. So, looking at how it's kind of coming in, I'm going to get some yellow to come down and kind of get that path. But then I'm going to layer over that with the darker colors, and you're not really going to see much of that yellow in the end. So, finished with the white for tonight, so we'll close that off, as well as the blue. And we'll grab this yellow. And get that base kind of line of where we're going with it. So especially for this one, we will have to go back and uncover our mana cost, because it will get covered up way too quickly. We're actually going to do some mixing and blending of color. So we'll grab the yellow, put a blob onto the mat, and then we'll grab some red and start fading into the darker color. Some red, mixing it in. And we're just gonna check that that's dried. And go over it with some red as well. We're gonna bring the red out a little bit wider. Leave a little bit of the yellow showing through in points. Using more of a dabby circular motion to give that cloud smoke-like effect of the shape to it. So, and to keep moving darker, we're gonna get some black added into it. Very, very sparingly, because it can overtake very quickly. So you can barely see the black on the tip of the brush there. But once I start mixing it in, you see how much darker it becomes. We'll continue just adding and darkening. And getting that coverage. So I maybe went too sparingly on the black, but you really don't want to go too quickly. Black can overtake very, very quickly. So just with each layer of that one, I'm trying to get it a little bit darker and closer. I think with this last add, we're going to be at that kind of final layer of it. I might go back in with lighter colors to highlight, but this is going to be it for darkening it down, I think. So just trying to get all that color blended in. Get a nice dark maroon red. All right. So, yeah, I'll definitely have to go in and highlight that a bit because I'm not quite getting the transition going on right here that we need. I got a little bit too dark too quick. So grab our fine brush and pop our yellow back open and just bring some highlights in over top. So as you see, I'm blending down further into the card to make it seem more natural and appropriate to the art. So with that, we've got much better look to it. Our color's a little bit off, and we could probably go in with a red again just to do kind of the same thing, but we'll get just a touch. We'll bring it up from down here down into these areas. Just a little bit of stippling and pulls on the brush to give it a bit more of a randomness to the feel. You've got that coming in. So a couple little more highlights to really make that pop, and there you go. I think that looks excellent. We'll clean up our last paint mix. A little bit harder to clean it up and get it all disappeared, seeing that there was some black to it. And then, like I said, we have to come back in and find our mana symbols on this. And we want to wait until the paint is completely dry before we do that. Because if the paint is not dry, you start getting that peeling effect that I was getting as I was drawing on the one card. So. So those are the 3 completed ones that we did. And they don't necessarily take long for one when you're going with something very simple like the swooping protector. But the more blending or detail there is to it, the longer it takes and the more you have to go back and forth and work to get what you really want to see out of it. So, and then, don't challenge yourself to go off of both sides. As everything we can get locked into doing it to one way, designing with everything going in one way, and you want to be able to do a design going the other way as well and making that work. So, and you might be wondering, well, like, you covered up the mana so much that you can't even see where it was anymore on there. But I do remember what it was, and it was the exact same as our Broker's Veteran. So you just gotta line it up and find it and go slow and gentle, and you can just get off what you need off from it. I'm just trying to find something nice for scraping with, because I don't know where my toothpicks are. You don't want to use anything too hard because you don't want to scratch the card. But you need something stiff enough to be able to take the pressure I thought I was more prepared for tonight than I am. I don't know where I put my toothpicks. So, get to see with me if the back of this paintbrush will do the job. So, I need light again. And that's where you can really see the difference because of the glare and finish difference between the card and the paint. So, not the cleanest, but again, for a personal card, for just making do with what I have, don't have the proper toothpick to do the clean peel. I think that's not a bad job. And then, yeah, I was just tapping down those frayed bits. Right? It dries quick enough to the touch that you can paint on top of it to keep going, but it's not completely dry yet. You gotta give it a little bit more time than we have to let it completely dry. But once you do, slide them into a sleeve, and they are good to go. So, bring it out so you can see everything together. Again, that's the part that I'm just not the most pleased with. And, from here I could go in with some more and clean up. But as a smoky effect, it's not too bad. So, that will be it for the stream for tonight. A little bit longer than we've been, but this type of work does take longer, letting paint dry. So, thank you all for coming and checking it out. We will revisit this, seeing that we didn't really complete the title magic card. And hopefully we can get everything nice and smooth and colored the way we want it for that time. All right, guys. Stay safe, everybody. I'll see you next time.